something we do in our community all the time. We get everyone to go on shifts versus non-shifts, right? Paul, can you maybe share with like our attendees like what we mean by that and how it could have impact on your business?
Yeah, for sure. So I think the majority of clinic owners, have a shift that looks like the non-shift side, where it's like 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Maybe like they go into the evenings, 5 to 6 p.m., that sort of thing. And that shift is really designed for the clinician, right? The clinician wants to work 9 to 5, but if you're really, wanting to provide a business that is patient-centered, that is really about the patient experience and the patient journey, then the shifts actually become really important, because most people work, like most people in the general population, work a 9 to 5, right? And so if you don't have a shift where you start before their 9 to 5, or a shift where they can come after work into the evening, then that's going to be a very poor patient experience. So what we do is we have a morning shift and an evening shift, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 1:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. We also do not, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but we don't do part-time people. Everybody works full-time hours, or we try anyways to get people to work full-time hours, because again, it's about patient experience. We want patients to have consistency with the same person, getting enough frequent treatments and front-end loading those treatments so that we get patients better faster, right?
Yeah, that's a good point, because if you only have like 6 beds, right? If you only have 7 beds at your clinic at 1,500 square feet, if you run non-shifts, like you can only like put one person, like you could have twice as much, you could move those beds twice as much if you actually run into shifts.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I think on that note too is, we don't want to get into the patient experience of too much here, but I'm also a prime example personally. When I was transitioning out of my full-time clinical role, and what I'm doing when I'm mentoring right now is we prescribe based on the clinician availability. So I would do that, as opposed to truly what the patient needs, because we know that as clinicians we aren't really good at sharing patients, even when we want to. It's that patient has built a relationship with me, and it's really protective of all of us. So I think that's the piece that you really want to think about, is my availability versus the patient's need.
Yeah, and we're not saying this is easy to do, but if you have the right culture and you actually have like the right people on board, and you've done over time, if you could get your clinic to be running shifts, you'll find that you actually don't need 3,000 square feet. You can actually run a $2 million, $1 million clinic off like 1,000 or 1,500 square feet, right? Yeah. But you have to be running shifts. So I'm just curious, and maybe in the question box, who right now is using shifts at your clinic? Maybe type yes or no. Type yes if you're using shifts in your clinic. Okay, nice. There's a lot of people using shifts. I like it. No. Okay. There's no. It's a split, half yes, no. Okay, let's do some math here. So assuming you only have 6 beds, okay, if you run 4 shifts, if you have 6 beds and you could actually have 4 shifts a day, okay. And that means in a week you would actually have 28 shifts, right? When I'm saying like running your clinic optimally, you want to be opening on Saturdays and Sundays, right? And if the average like person sees like 14 patients per shift at 80% utilization, that means for 6 beds you could actually crank out 392 patients per week, right? And that's $1.6 million. Having 6 beds, running shifts. And that to me is a 1,500 square feet clinic. But this is like a tight operation.
That's a tight operation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a tight operation, and we've seen people do it, and it's pretty amazing. But even if you did like set 80% of that, the 80-20 rule, right? You had 1 morning shift and 2 evening shifts, you're still going to get very close numbers to that, like 1.2, 1.3, which is pretty awesome. I know some of the people on the call are probably like, holy shit, we're open on Sundays? Like, who opens on Sundays, right? This is the direction that healthcare is going. It's about patient experience. It's about availability. It's about making sure that your schedule caters to your patients and not necessarily your clinicians, right?
Yeah, I think in the past too, we would have said we had failed attempts at doing weekends. And right now my clinical practice, because of my schedule, is on a Saturday and it's full.
Yeah, I know clinics opening on Sundays now too. Like used to be Saturdays, now it's Sundays, right? And you're gonna find you're gonna find your senior therapist won't do these jobs, but like the new people will, right? Just depends on the messaging that you put together, right? And we talked about this earlier, like part-timers and full-timers, Paul, right?
Yeah, part-timers, I call part-timers clinic killers, right? And it's nothing about their personality or nothing about how they treat, right? It's purely because I know that if I want my patients to get better, I know I'm going to front end load those treatments. I want those patients to not come forever, not come for the rest of their lives, but for the first couple of weeks at least, I want them to come 2 to 3 times a week. But if I have someone working just Tuesday, Thursday, and they're at another clinic on the rest of the week, the chances of those 2 days of the clinician's days matching up with the patient's 2 days that they need to come in, the chances of those 2 days matching up are very slim. Like it's very unlikely, right? Some of you might have people who are working 3 days in the morning and 3 days in the evening. That's essentially the same thing as having two part-time people, one person working in the evening, one person working in the morning. The same effect is going to happen. So, again, for me, it's about consistency, patient experience, having the availability of that physio, that chiro, that massage therapist available for that patient. And you can only achieve that with full-time people.